I will always support Israel's security. I will bring with me an unshakable commitment to Israel's security. An unshakable commitment to Israel's security.
In 2008, Senator Barack Obama ran for president as a pro-Israel candidate.
Now, let me be clear. Israel's security is sacrosanct. It's sacrosanct. It's non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable.
He placed himself in the mainstream of American opinion on Israel and the Middle East.
With secure, recognized, defensible borders. And Jerusalem will remain the capital of Israel, and it must remain undivided.
3 years later, Obama is defending his record on Israel.
America does not accept the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlements.
I thought that he came down pretty hard on Israel.
He didn't have a full grasp of what the region really looks like.
This president has done more to delegitimize and undermine Israel's position in the world than any other president.
President Obama claims his administration has done more for Israel's security than any other. He says his critics are distorting his record for partisan gain.
The way that this was presented to the Israelis is you have to do the following, and the Palestinians have to do nothing in return.
This is not the way you treat an ally.
As Israel faces growing threats in the region, the Iranian nuclear program, an uprising in Syria, the rise of Islamic extremists in Turkey and Egypt, the terrorist groups Hamas and Hezbollah building larger stockpiles of missiles, the friendship of the U.S. president has never been more important. What has President Obama's record on Israel really been?
The Obama administration was, from the very beginning, under the spell of some very conventional views that first the Bush administration had poisoned the well, had poisoned relations between the United States and the larger Muslim world, and second, the key to all the many problems that afflicted the Middle East was the dispute between Israel and the Palestinians. If you could solve that, all the other problems would fall into place.
Obama began his presidency with a campaign of outreach to Muslims. He granted his first television interview as president to Al Arabiya, an Arabic language news channel. At a global summit, he greeted the Saudi king with a deep bow. He traveled to Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, but each time skipped Israel.
Now what I'd like to do is take some questions. I want to make sure that we end before the call to prayers.
In Saudi Arabia, Obama accepted an award from King Abdullah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
The next day, he delivered a landmark speech to the Muslim world in Cairo, fulfilling a campaign promise to speak from a Muslim capital in the first 100 days of his presidency.
Assalamu alaikum.
I feared in advance the speech would be a terrible mistake, but it was worse than my worst fear.
The United States does not accept the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlements. It is time for these settlements to stop.
There was an attempt here to put some distance between the United States and Israel. I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing the response that you saw in that auditorium. I think it's very dangerous.
That the aspiration for a Jewish homeland is rooted in a tragic history that cannot be denied. On the other hand, it is also undeniable that the Palestinian people, Muslims and Christians, has suffered.
For him to stand up there and say that the Holocaust was a moral equivalent to the way the Israelis are treating Palestine right now, it's just an outrageous comparison.
He did more in 3 minutes to delegitimize the existence of Israel than any president in American history.
Thank you.
For Israeli officials and for the citizens of the State of Israel, I think they were quite concerned that his narrative of Israel seemed to fit the sort of the resentful and rejectionist narrative of lots of Middle Eastern actors, that the only reason for the State of Israel was because of the Holocaust. I think it showed right there he didn't quite have a full grasp of what the region really looks like.
In that speech, he suggested addressing all Muslims of the world, that all Muslims of the world have a special interest where Israelis build apartments.
Obama also launched a new approach to Israel. It began by demanding that Israel make unprecedented concessions to the Palestinians and questioning Israel's desire for peace.
There was this phone call he had with a group of American Jewish leaders, and he said that it was a problem that there was no daylight between the United States and Israel. And he said that this didn't advance the peace process. What we needed to do was show daylight between the U.S. and Israel, and the United States needed to push Israel.
Obama lectured Jewish leaders that Israelis must engage in serious self-reflection about their commitment to peace. The Obama administration demanded from Israel what it called a settlement freeze, a complete cessation of any building by Jews on land claimed by the Palestinians.
We have to make progress on settlements. The settlements have to be stopped.
He wants to see a stop to settlements, not some settlements, not outposts, not natural growth exceptions, and we intend to press that point.
The idea is that the settlements are central to the Israeli-Palestinian issue. And the Palestinian-Israeli issue is somehow central to the Middle East. I mean, I think that even when this president came to office, most Americans realized this was nonsensical.
The demand was made sternly and publicly.
America does not accept the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlement.
Stopping settlement activity.
It ends the occupation that began in 1967.
That is our position. That is what we have communicated very clearly.
Yet no demand was made of the Palestinians.
President Obama could have asked many things of the Palestinians that he refrained from asking of them. He could have asked them to undertake reforms of their educational system. The educational system still systematically teaches hatred of Jews and teaches the illegitimacy of the state of Israel in any borders.
The president did none of the above, and I think only served to embolden the Palestinians, who now believe that they had an ally on their side, who was willing to push the Israelis to make concessions up front.
The Palestinians understood that they had a free hand. At a political convention, Palestinian leaders celebrated terrorism. Obama had no comment. The settlement freeze became a U.S. and Palestinian precondition for Israel to meet.
We have been told by many of our friends that once Israel takes the first meaningful step towards peace, the Palestinians and the Arab world would respond in a positive, virtuous cycle for peace.
The way that this was presented to the Israelis is you have to do the following, and the Palestinians have to do nothing in return.
Well, the government of Israel has taken a very big step towards peace today. Authorized a policy of restraint regarding settlements, which will include a suspension of new permits and new construction in Judea and Samaria for a period of 10 months. And I hope that the Palestinians and the Arab world will seize this opportunity to work with us to forge a new beginning and a new future for our peoples, for our children, and for theirs.
Yet instead of encouraging the Palestinians to talk, Obama's focus on Israel only encouraged their silence, hoping that Obama would continue pressuring Israel.
By making a huge issue about all Israeli building, the president established a new demand, and he forced the Palestinians to adopt this as their own demand, because what Palestinian leader could be seen to be less robust, less demanding on behalf of Palestinian interests than the President of the United States?